Hello, welcome to Quizzy Monday. Another week down, another week closer to the final of Only Connect Mastermind University Challenge. Not long now until we get to the final of Only Connect, just by my reckoning, 2 weeks. We do have one of those finalists with us tonight. We have Dennis from the Crustaceans. What a performance from them tonight. Also coming up later, we've got Alex and Harry from Durham University after their University Challenge win. So we're looking forward to chatting to them. Before we get going, let's recap who won the votes for Quizzer and Team of the Week last week. Congratulations to Paddy Pam and Quizzer of the Week last week for his performance in the Pop Culture Challenge. Second was Harry Scully for University Challenge. The third was Bob DeCoe, who performed well across multiple competitions. Team of the Week last week was Durham University. Second was Quiz Machine Kills Fascists of the OQL. And third was Strigiforms from Only Connect. Don't forget, you can nominate anyone for Team and Quizzer of the Week. Go to tinyurl.com/ATQ nominations. Nominations close at 5 p.m. every Monday. So, well done to all of those. We may well see Durham nominated again after their performance this week. We've got a few people in the chat. Don't forget, you can put comments in the chat. Catherine is saying hello. Gerard is talking to Catherine, saying hi, Catherine. Happy belated birthday to Gerard. It was his birthday yesterday. Hope he had a good one. Catherine's also positing that it's impossible to watch Only Connect at the same time as trying to get your first look at the Northern Lights. That may well be the case. Gerard says, one Sunday I'll remember to look at what is the question again. I've forgotten 3 weeks running now. Yeah, he wins it on his first go and then doesn't play again. We'll be announcing the vote for this week's What is the Question competition later. And Kimmy Thingy says, whoop whoop, some parental support for Durham. Team Durham. Well, good to have you, Kimmy Thingy. Hope you enjoy us chatting to Alex and Harry a little bit later. But we are going to be starting with Dennis from the Crustaceans. Welcome to the stream, Dennis.
Hello.
Hello. In your wildest fever dream, could that semi-final have gone any better for you?
Not really. Not really, eh? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of luck in these things, and we knew that our opponents, while a very good team, didn't have the best record starting off, but still.
Yeah. So there's being slow starters, which I think, the other week they rejoiced in getting a point in the first round, having not had something in the first round previously. But in the semi-final, that's not what you want. You want to be kind of getting a score moving, scoreboard moving quickly. And it was you that got that scoreboard pressure from the start. You knew that you're against a semi-final team. You know that they're a good team.
Yes.
Did you know anything more about them before the match?
Well,
oh no, you played them once.
The fact that we beat them in our opening match, yes. So yes, so we went in, I guess, reasonably confident. As you say, you don't get to, teams don't get to that stage without having a certain amount going on. But at the same time, a team who we had beaten earlier, then we've got to be reasonably confident. But I mean, it makes such a difference just the first few questions coming out. Getting your first few points on the board before your opponents do, and then all you've got to do is match them from that stage on, which does feel like it takes a bit of the pressure off.
Yeah, and we saw it in Mastermind what happened when people weren't getting the first question right, and it adds a bit of pressure. And the first question tonight in Only Connect was the clouds one, which they didn't get, and you picked up for a bonus. And then I mean, everybody loves a bit of the Aristocats, so you picked up the music one as well. So it started off really strongly for you.
Yeah. And also it just feels with the luck of those things, because the cloud one is definitely a bit harder. The cats one was quite a gentle one for music. I think that it was one of those ones where you're hearing it, and sometimes it feels a bit tricky because you think, oh, it's just this. Can it be that simple, or is there something else going on here? And especially on music questions, it does feel like people rarely go before they've heard all the music clues. You just don't feel that confidence with things.
Yeah, very often people don't recognise the first one, and
Yeah,
then
they
maybe
won't
you get the
recognise the
second one.
first one. Then they're kind of like, oh, I've got a bit of an idea what's going on. But very rarely do people seem to go on, jump in early on them.
Yeah. But you picked that one up with that. I mean, I remember Kenneth Williams doing a parody of that horrendous cat duet thing. But that, we managed to lock it in at that point. And then I think Scrummagers also got unlucky with the next one, which was the film one, Muhammad Ali, the Greatest, etc. Because
Yeah,
that was a beautiful pickup from you guys. But actually, just I was thinking about how can that guy be in United '93 when they all died? But of course, thinking about didn't think about the air traffic controllers. I didn't. Yeah,
yeah.
it was,
I think I was sort of probably had it on 5, but definitely on the second clue.
yeah,
Because the first one, say it's well, if you're familiar with these things, it's quite famous. Muhammad Ali, basically,
mm,
he's the only person who's good enough to play himself.
mm,
But
yeah.
yeah,
And it was very good pickup on the 15-17 to Paris. Was that was you? I think, wasn't it? Identifying those people.
yeah.
Yeah,
I knew about that one, and I at least somewhat recognised the names, but I knew the thing because of the say the Clint Eastwood film.
yeah. Now Paul Lavery has popped up in the chat saying the body parts muck something question was very, very clever. That was the one blot on your copybook for the round.
It was.
Kind of,
I think that was. I mean, that was maybe that. It was a harder question because you needed to get the two parts of it. I think, and
mm,
while we recognised the guy, what's it, Knuckles McGinty out of Paddington 2, just
mm,
couldn't remember the name, and then
mm,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, Feathers McGraw, Bones McCoy once you see it, but yes, I guess if you're focused on one part of it, the muck, and not necessarily focused on the other parts,
yeah.
and you
So
think Leonard
maybe
McCoy.
that's the thing. We're just not. We just. I mean, especially given the time pressure
Mm,
you're under, then
yeah.
working out that you need to go for two parts at once is
Mm,
possibly. But I mean, it's a
mm,
good question, and I certainly wouldn't grumble about it. But it's just
yeah.
that little bit harder having to get both bits.
Yeah. Gerard saying, didn't know Knuckles' surname, which is true, and I certainly didn't know Legs McNeil either.
No.
So you really were probably going off too. Michael has said would probably have been tempted to risk a 5 on the greatest. Him playing himself is the most notable thing about the film. Surprised Audie Murphy into Hell and Back wasn't in the clues. I mean, I guess that's maybe that's a little bit obscure nowadays. I don't know. World War II
Hmm.
soldiers playing themselves, but yeah, I mean, if anybody would have the knowledge to go for that and the balls, then Michael would be one of the few people who would risk that. But in a semi-final, when it's going your way, well, actually, no, it wasn't your question, was
It
it?
wouldn't.
So
I know. I'd
yeah,
say if it'd been ours, I would have been tempted on 5, but I'd still probably
yeah,
just because if
yeah,
yeah, as you say, if it's going your way, it's not worth the risk for
yeah.
the loss for potential loss of points, I guess. But
Did you
then
have that sort of tactical kind of thinking at any point during the series? I mean, obviously by this point you're feeling pretty confident, but that sort of we'd rather take a 1 than pass something over to the opposition.
I don't really recall it coming up. Certainly didn't happen much. If there
Mm,
might have been once or twice, but mostly once we knew the answer, we knew the answer. I don't think there are that many.
mm,
Possibly sort of, I say maybe the music ones where you're not in
mm,
100% sure what's going on.
mm.
Um, but no, I mean, looking back afterwards, you can say, "Oh, I might have done that," but mostly we just went. Once you're sure of it, you go for it, and up
Yeah,
until then,
yeah.
you don't.
Play it
And
as
then
you see it
on
in the
that,
minute, in the moment, don't you? Yeah, that's
yeah,
the thing. It's like, you know, it's very
it's,
easy. We said it before. If you sat at home on your sofa, say 5, and you forget all the times that you're confident and wrong, and in the studio, there's something hanging on it. I just thought that first round. I mean, we said scrummagers got a little unlucky with the questions, but your team were just so good at getting points on yours as well as picking those bonuses up. It reminded me of the semi-final I was in, where we picked the wrong questions, but nonetheless our opposition knew theirs and ours. So you kind of have to hold your hands up and think it could have been closer if we were lucky, but we were still the second best team in those rounds. And you finished off with the burned books, which again was just another good pick. And the people from throughout your team, all three of you, were contributing throughout the episode again today, which feels to me like one of your real strengths as a team.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that's how it really has to work. If you're going to do like this, you have to be able to discuss things and work together and contribute stuff. And I mean, obviously, I guess ultimately it's the captain's decision and stuff like that. But realistically, I don't think there were that many cases over the whole bunch where where Eli and I had to be put in line or overruled. It was generally fairly equal discussion between the three of us, which is nice.
Sorry, Karen.
I was just going to say, there's a few questions where it's clearly one player's area of interest, but otherwise, no. It's good having that kind of interaction.
Yeah. So 6-0 after round one. Round two got even better. An 8-0 scoreline this time round. Are you feeling anything for your opposition while this is happening, or are you so focused on your own game at this point?
Oh yes, you do, because I mean, especially in the process of filming, you've obviously got the pauses in between rounds while stuff happens, so you do have a little time, especially going into the wall stage, because that's probably where the longest pause in. There's a bit of reevaluating and stuff like that, but if you're substantially ahead, then you do feel quite sorry for them, because I mean, I'm not sure quite how far ahead you have to be before that kind of thing, but if you're 2 or 3 points ahead, then you're probably like, well, this is fine, but that's enough that you could easily mess that up. That's they get, especially say that's the wall stage where you don't know what the other team you can't see what the other team are doing, and it would be very easy to not, if you don't complete your wall, then they can easily make up 4 points on that without too much difficulty. So yes, but when they've not got anything on the scoreboard, then you do probably feel reasonably confident enough to feel sorry for them.
Yeah, well, I think many of us would love to have been in that position, but it was, I think you kept coming up with really good answers, and this is the thing that I was thinking whilst I was watching it. It wasn't that I was sat there thinking this is obvious. Why aren't the scrummagers getting it? Because to me, a lot of these were not obvious at all. And your team was still picking up the points. So the stoner one, the 2 words with the same number of words, same number of letters, making a connection, and then followed up by one of, I don't know, just a brilliant answer. The PHS answer. The route into that's just incredible. That one.
That one it's one of those where I did think it nearly got away from us, and we just sort of sat there looking at running through things and just can't get it, and then it clicks, and you're like, and that's what PHS, especially because I guess if you're looking at the American states things, then those are not the 3 branches of government, which would be the thing you'd automatically start. I mean, obviously those are the elected elements.
Yeah.
But I think that slightly threw me when we were running through things. But it helps that I guess at least one thing people familiar with the show will generally remember is that the fourth in a group is normally relatively straightforward. It's not going to be something where it becomes more complicated than the first 3 elements. So that helps. Once you've spotted what's going on, then you go, okay, it's going to be a nice simple answer, isn't it? Relatively.
Yeah. I mean, as Gerard's put here, the even years suggested US elections. Red and blue potentially suggests 2 political parties, but it's them making that connection to PHS. That's just I mean, I just thought that was fantastic. Then but then there were a couple of general knowledgey ones. Sorry, brain's gone blank. The astronauts and the Toms ranks.
The astronauts one is, I guess it's one of those things where, especially if you're practice quizzes, then things like the first swim in space or first astronaut is such a stock kind of list of things, and yes, Resnick, I don't think we recognise immediately, but as soon as we saw Ride, then it's like, okay, I know what's going on here. Then, what was the other one?
It was the ranks. So the Tugendhat, Tom, Bowie's Lonely Spaceman.
And I guess with that, yes, I mean, I guess with Tugendhat, I might have recalled that he was military, but yes, we'd never have got it from the first one, or even possibly the second. But once it all comes together there, and it is fortunate with these things that they do keep it nice and straightforward, and just Colonel will do nicely, because if you start getting more technical about army ranks, then it's probably going to put off people who don't have particular interest or experience in that. But yes, I enjoyed Alex's answer on that one that we had to give. Inability to recall actually famous Colonel Tom.
Well, I mean, it demonstrated the knowledge, and it was fine. I really loved the one that didn't get got in this round, which was the overlapping names. Chris Christopher. It would have helped if I'd have recognised Chris Christopherson, but that was a picture that I just didn't say him to me. And then Stephen Hendrick, Romelu Lukaku. That was such a nice sequence. Possibly my favourite of the night, I think.
Yes, it's nice with these. I mean, it's obviously with the picture ones. There's always an element of recognising the clues, but which I think that they recognised all of them straight off, and I think we were all right. We would have been all right with them as well, but just having that extra element, and we kind of had an idea that there was something, it was going to be a names and letters related thing, but just not putting it together in time.
The numerical thing with the overlap, which is, once you know it, you know the answer is, of course, yes, it works. But as Jared says, I was never going to look at Stephen Hendry and think
That's
3 letters shared with first and surname. It's just
yes, you might get it slightly more with Romelu Lukaku, but Stephen Hendry, it just doesn't. You wouldn't see it if someone didn't point it out, or if or you hadn't got it probably more from the other ones.
So really clever question writing. You rounded it off with the French republics, which again a nice general knowledge one, which plays to some good experienced quizzes. But 14-0 after 2 rounds. You were first up for the wall. Did you have much time to take stock of how the game was going?
I mean, I think we had a couple of minutes while we're moving through to the wall and stuff. So I say there's always a bit of time there, but I mean, in those circumstances, I don't think we really felt we needed too much. Everything seemed to be going pretty well. We're feeling happy about things. It's enough of a, and I think given our previous performance on walls, we'd be, even if we wouldn't say we necessarily go in knowing we're going to 10 it, but we look at it and go, we should get 5 or 6 points on this. And then even if they completely on that, then it's going to take a real disaster to lose it from there, I guess.
Yeah. And you made pretty light work of the wall as well. I mean, this was one of the great Only Connect performances, just in terms of letting so little slip over the course of the match when you're against a really good opposition. But you spotted the composers, you spotted places in Wales, and you spotted the under underneath, undercurrent. The one that really impressed me was again the anagrams, tiger, leopard, because things like leopard and Penarth, perhaps,
It's. I think it's just one of those things where,
Mm.
again, I mean, there's such a difference on the wall. If you can get your first set out relatively
Mm.
early on, it
Mm.
just gives you a lot more thinking time. And things like the anagrams, picking stuff like that, is it's something you just need a bit of time on.
Mm.
You need to more or less work out what the set is, and then have a little bit of just playing around with it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do think our wall was, because obviously I hadn't seen their wall up until
Mm.
tonight. I think we definitely got the slightly easier of the two. Not necessarily by a massive kind of thing, but
Mm.
maybe I just feel like, say, anagrams of big cats is slightly easier than their anagrams. So
Yeah. Yeah, there were a few people saying that they probably got the tougher wall, but again, it's about how if you eliminate a red herring early on, then you kind of buy yourself the time to solve other clues and then think about things. And if you're looking at Greet, Paroled, Lino, and Penarth, and not you can't see anything that connects them, well, then you can start thinking about anagrams and stuff like that, can't you? You've
yeah,
got the
anagrams and
time.
other sort of wordplay things. Yes,
Yeah.
beginnings, endings, the stuff. I mean, it's so much of this is you've watched. You have to have watched the show and played along with it before, and in which case
Mm.
you can be fairly confident it's going to be within the standard kind of groups of things. There is
Yeah.
always a wordplay on the
Yeah.
grid, and if that hasn't been any of the first 2 or 3 sets you've got out, then that's what you're looking
Mm.
for.
Yeah, you're looking for the before and afterwards, or you're looking for the anagrams or the homophones and that sort of thing. It's yeah, Scrummager's got 7, so that
Yeah,
must have hurt. It's a shame that they're not here. And if they are watching, Scrummagers, we do love you. Um, you had a great series so far, and we look forward to seeing your third and fourth place playoff. It was good to see them pick up points here.
yeah.
And Yeah, I mean, it was never really going to be that competitive going into the missing vowels, because of how well you'd done in the first 3 rounds. But nonetheless, it was just nice to see them start to claw their way back. And then missing vowels again, they were competitive in the missing vowels as well, which was great.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the thing. It's nice to show that they're a good team, because
yeah.
it does feel harsh, people not picking stuff up when you know they're capable of doing it. So
Mm,
yes,
yeah. So it was Jesus's parables, artist with letter changed, animals 3 5-letter words, which we didn't really see all of. I think in the end, did we? I think
no,
at
there
the
was the
time,
green aphids thing was the,
yeah.
um,
But
but yes, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I guess the thing with these is some of them is you some of them you can't, but a lot of them you can work out from the
mm,
category what's going to come out. And if
yeah,
it's parables, then Good Samaritan, and Prodigal
mm,
Son, you've got to be fairly confident they're going to come out.
yeah,
So it's looking out for things you're expecting a bit.
yeah, yeah. And it was nip and tuck between the two of you. Had it been a closer match, it could have been a thrilling final round. But it's interesting. We've got the Durham um, players coming on shortly,
Yeah,
and when a game is so kind of one-sided numerically as theirs was last week, um, that sometimes it kind of you can sit back and be impressed by a team, but you don't kind of get the sort of excitement that we had in University Challenge tonight, for example.
yeah,
You just sit back and admire. Last week we admired Durham. Tonight it was just we watched something special when we were watching crustaceans play, and I don't think just something special in respect of this series. I think something special in respect of the history of Only Connect. It was quite something. Um, Following that up in the final, I mean, obviously we don't know what happens in the final and don't want you to tell us, but after this game, you must have gone into the final feeling, you know, not unstoppable, perhaps, but really good about yourselves.
Yeah. No, I think it's particularly scoring points in each round, I think, is the main thing, because if you're against a team who are strong and on reasonable form themselves, and you have to presume whoever you're going to play will be, then you need to be able to score points in each of the areas. And it's nice. It's nice to go into any match having done well in the previous one.
And hoping that word gets around and your opposition hear quite how well you did, just to put fear
as well.
So fantastic performance. It's just nothing but praise really for how well you played in this match. 2 weeks' time, we get to see you play in the final. I'm really, really looking forward to that matchup, which should be absolutely superb. But we are going to have to cut it there and look at a couple of clips before we'll bring on Alex, Harry, and looks like Bea as well from Durham, and we'll talk about University Challenge. But well done again, Dennis.
Thank you.
Last week, the answer was chocolate, and this question by Martin McCann was voted the best question. The design of the King of the Mountains jersey in the Tour de France is believed to have taken inspiration from the logo of the jersey's first sponsor. What product did they make? Well done to Martin. This week's answer in need of a question is moss. People submitted their questions, and you can now vote on the long list. Voting is open at tinyurl.com/WITQ-moss. Voting is open until Wednesday, when we'll announce the shortlist, and you can vote for the winner. And if you want to submit questions for What is a Question, well, we release a new answer in need of question every Sunday morning on Facebook and Twitter. All you have to do is reply to that post with your question. Deadline for sending in questions is Monday at 4 p.m.
Oops.
So thank you to our Patreon members. We had our Patreon members quiz last night, and it was won by Anne, Chris, and Yi. It was a quiz in anticipation of International Women's Day. All the questions were about women, and then we had some great questions afterwards and some buzzing. So if you want to take part in that, the last Sunday of each month, we have the quiz for patrons. Membership starts at £3. So let us bring on our guests from University Challenge. We have Alex and Harry and Bea. Welcome all.
Hi.
Hello.
That was a really good match, wasn't it? I mean, we were saying last week, your performance was brilliant last week. But one of our guests last week said, they were so far ahead, I kind of switched off partway through. Nobody would have switched off during this match. This was absolutely fantastic. Going into this match, though, off the back of a monster win, and as Paxo said, the highest scorers thus far in the series, how did you approach playing Southampton? Did you know anything about Southampton?
I think we'd had seen Southampton play earlier that day, as their second round match was the one right before our second round match. So we caught the end of their game and saw their score and saw how strong they were. So yeah, we knew it wasn't going to be an easy game.
Yeah. And when you see Alex, a player like, because in that previous match, Belcher, the captain, Southampton, he got 9 starters, more than all the other players in the game combined. Do you have in your mind that, I don't know, if he can do it. But we've got to keep him quiet. We've got to stop him getting in. We've got to keep him out of the game. In the way that they were probably thinking, looking at Harry's last performance, and maybe thinking, okay, danger person. But then, to answer my own question, you look at Belcher in their last match, and then Lyon this time round comes through with a brilliant performance. But does it affect you when you know how well teams played?
I don't really know. I think, to be honest, I mean, I was very nervous about it all. I don't think there was a particular. I'd seen the last match, so I was nervous. It was more, I'm on national telly and I might say some incorrect things. I'm going to be nervous. But no, I mean, one thing that doesn't help me in this interview is I remember very little about this whole thing. I think I was just sitting the whole time going, oh God, I've got to get questioned. I've got to. But, I mean, I think also one actual nice thing about this match was it was a match where we knew whoever lost was still going to come back. So I think, I mean, as I've said, I was very stressed, but I think I was slightly less stressed than in the previous matches. And it did mean that we talked to them before we went on, and they were lovely, and we had a good chat. And so I think there was a certain amount of just, I want to get on there and answer a lot of questions as best I can. So
when it's a game that's nip and tuck as this one was, are you really aware of the score as the game's going on?
Definitely, yeah.
Yes. Just sort of, continually, and both in this match and our first one against Bristol, I think there was a lot of sort of working out, okay, we're in the last section. We have got to catch up. So it's time for aggressive buzzing. We need to go for this.
Yeah.
And, it's just the kind of thing where you're going, please let the last few questions be ones that happen to suit us. Because at this point, it's almost a coin toss. So
yeah, I mean, I do English, and it is remarkable how quickly I was able to do maths in those couple of seconds of figuring how many points we needed to get. So I'm impressed with myself on that level. But of course, the questions that were asked, I was like, no, it's up to the boys on that one, but that's fine.
Harry, when you've had a game where you've scored heavily on starters, because it's not just about starters, it's about everybody chipping in on bonuses as well. But when you've been quite a dominant player on the starters, do you feel a sense of kind of pressure on you to keep that up?
A little bit, but not really, because I know that there's quite a lot of luck that comes into it with the questions that come up, and it can another match could be someone else's day. I think last game was just sort of my set of questions that I just happened to know. But yeah, it's a team game after all, so yeah. Never too much pressure.
We've got a question here from Zachary. Do you all find that reading much longer Quiz Bowl questions from university level Quiz Bowl packets help for preparation on UC? It feels like hard parts of bonuses really overlap there.
Well, I played a fair bit of Quiz Bowl, not just in preparation, sort of before I was on the team anyway. I guess maybe, yeah, because Quiz Bowl and University Challenge are both just a demonstration of knowledge. I wouldn't say there's too much overlap between the questions that are asked. I think University Challenge has a much wider range of the stuff they can ask you, whereas Quiz Bowl seems to have a defined canon of things that come up again. I think the main thing that helped playing Quiz Bowl was buzzer agility and knowing sort of when to buzz and sort of when you sort of pieced enough pieces of information that you're confident enough to buzz. I think that was the main thing that helped playing Quiz Bowl.
Yeah, the questions do feel completely different, and I haven't done nearly as much Quiz Bowl as Harry, but a Quiz Bowl question sort of, I feel there's a little bit of time at the start where, odds are people aren't going to buzz for the first sentence because they are so much longer. So there's not quite as much anticipation, whereas I feel Uni Challenge, that they could just give it away in 5 words or whatever. So there is sort of an extra layer of, I feel like it's so much just, you have to pay so close attention. But I mean, obviously, the more quizzing you do of any sort, especially in a similar format, the better you are. Yeah.
Bea, what sort of practice did the team do in preparation for going on UC?
Yeah, so in comparison to the other guys, I had never done any Quiz Bowl before.
I think I'd never done any either when we started.
So it was quite, that kind of part was quite an alien concept to me. But I think it was a combination of, weirdly in a way, I think you could say kind of the aftermath of COVID kind of helped, in the sense that we would do a lot of our practices on Zoom. So just because of the ease of that kind of medium, we were able to practice being quick on the buzzer and being able to get that speed up. Equally, I think we worked through the entirety of the uni challenge quiz questions, and it's really helpful to be able to see the style that they quite favor or that they enjoy kind of using, because then you're able to kind of get your ear in, especially if it's halfway through a question. You know, they could say something like, you know, this text in which city or who, and so just using those tiny words and being kind of having your ear attuned to that kind of style really helps you to be able to be quite aggressive on the buzzer and make those snap decisions that in the moment of the studio I don't remember making any of my buzzers. Obviously I did, but I don't remember having that moment kind of pass through my brain. It's a real muscle memory kind of action. So I think that really helps, but I don't know about the other guys.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about buzzer quizzes is there's sort of a slight art to working out exactly when to buzz. Like, especially in Uni Challenge, I feel there are times when I actually buzz, especially if it's like a question of mental arithmetic. I do actually buzz before I know the answer, if I know I'm a step away. And like, there are sort of questions where if you always wait till you're sure of an answer, you're not going to win buzzer races. And so it's very hard to win. And so there's a very painful calculus to being aggressive with buzzing and yet not making a fool of yourself, which I don't think I've quite mastered yet, but is something to work on.
Yeah. And I think I watched all of the episodes in the last 10 years, pretty much. I watched your season, Dennis, from 10 years ago.
2012, yeah.
Yeah.
I think as a team we watched like 4 or 5 years or something, and individually we also watched a bunch. Which
like I would go to the gym and I would watch an episode of it. Which sounds horrific, and I would get very strange looks from people as I kind of shouted, kind of trying to be quiet, the answers. But yeah, it was kind of, my brain entered a slightly different space when we were preparing for it, I think. Yeah. Nowadays, I absolutely could not do it. I'm in final year, so I've got my dissertation to do, but yeah.
Yes, I made the mistake of being in my final year, and my academics suffered a little bit, but it's fine now.
Dennis, how much is this bringing back memories of when you were on all the kind of, all the sort of cramming and practicing and trying to work out how best to learn the game?
I just remember we didn't do much. We went to a couple of pub quizzes.
Yeah.
This was pre-Zoom being a thing, so we met up a few times, went to a pub, played a pub quiz. I think we took buzzers up when we actually went up to Manchester to stay for it and did a bit of practice there, but we did very little.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't actually seem to do us a huge amount of harm, but I wonder if we might have done that a little bit better had we. But
yeah, I guess we're a lot luckier nowadays that you've got the last 10 years all on YouTube. But back when you're playing in the early 2000s, 2010s, when they weren't all on YouTube,
it's not quite.
That's not what I'm suggesting.
Black and white era, Dennis.
I'm not sure about you exactly, Dennis. Yeah.
No, but there probably wasn't quite the same access to stuff. We had like the quiz books and we had the Uni Challenge quiz book from before and stuff. But possibly not quite the same level of resources conveniently to hand, because that was the whole thing. It was the Manchester team who beat us, had their coach as actually they properly planned and trained and organised and stuff, and well, obviously it worked out for them there. So, but it sounds like this has become even more standard in more recent series, and being able to do stuff on Zoom means it's much easier as a team to get together and do a bit of practice without having to block out huge amounts of time, I guess.
And find a room and all that sort of stuff you need to do.
And I think also
there's one thing I don't miss about academia is trying to book a room.
Oh gosh, yeah.
It's also, I think it meant the amount more we practiced meant we all ended up getting to know each other a lot better, which also, it helps with team spirit and stuff. But it also means when you get to a point like the end of that match, when you need to be quick on the bonuses, you kind of you know who to look to, and you know who's likely to get stuff, which I think helps. But also just it's lovely to get to know these people, and I think having your friends on there is just it means there's this sense of camaraderie that really helps to pull you through.
And it's interesting you're talking about that, because as a captain, it's really important that you know everybody's strengths, but equally to know when they've probably got something and to trust it, and when they're just throwing something out. And there was that the ergative case where I think Bea, you were in Alex's ear on that one, and
that was very much a team effort, because she had the etymology part. I didn't, and I knew the word ergative was a grammar word, and kind of just throwing all that together. And I think that's one of the things that's a lot harder to do if you haven't practiced a lot as a team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it kind of speaks to kind of our cohesion and how we work as a group as well, with Chloe as well, and how I remember that part from weirdly like a German A level, and just something in my brain triggered it. But because we were all together, and also because we had practiced in the way that we had practiced, and I think I speak for all of us in how close we've become as a team, that we were able to get it together and almost kind of communicate on a level of going, okay, yeah, Alex is going to understand the language part of it. I might be able to get a vague part of it, and together we can put it together. And I really think those are the most satisfying answers.
I'm pretty sure neither of us could have got that on our own.
No,
I was not even thinking anything. I was not thinking anything vaguely in that area. But I think that kind of teamwork is also just fun to watch, I think, as well. It's good seeing a team work together rather than just seeing individual people shouting answers.
No, definitely. Interestingly, you mentioned earlier about the looking stupid on national TV thing. I'm not going to say you did, because you didn't, but it actually comes down to that attitude, because there was one bit where it was like the mass of two planets put together, and you just buzzed in and 10 to the 10. You didn't read, but it's like that sounded like a university challenge kind of answer. But equally, I thought, I have no idea whether that's really, really clever or a million miles away. But if you say nothing, you're not getting the points. So you might as well buzz. And on a similar,
give me a few minutes with a pen and paper, and I might be able
to I think it was just in my head. I sort of worked out the numbers for the radii in back of the napkin order of magnitude, and when it's probably going to be something around 10 to the 10. But I was also so I feel I'm willing to be more aggressive if I feel that I don't think anyone on my team is likely to have a better method. If it was a question where I thought one of you guys or Chloe, this was their area, and I would feel I should step back. But something like that, I doubt anyone knows these numbers off the top of their head. So I reckon I may as well try and get a buzz in before the opponents do. So that was sort of my philosophy on it. But also I think it did help me that wasn't one that I felt I would look stupid if I got wrong. I know Twitter can be vicious, but I don't think they're going to go, he doesn't know the whatevers of these planets.
It wasn't
that's a bit far.
So that was fun.
No. I mean, I think not. The other art, which Harry, you kind of exemplified, was one of the trickiest things when you're doing any form of buzzer quiz is when you buzz in and get something wrong, is to not dwell on it and to be in for the next one. And you buzzed in and said defibrillator, you were wrong, but you were in the very next starter with Surat. How do you get that sort of clarity of thought? Is that just playing loads and loads of buzzer quiz, or is that kind of just your
I mean, you've kind of just got to treat every question as their own question, I suppose, and just sort of the past is in the past and just move on. Yeah, the defibrillator one, I think I buzzed without hearing really any information. That was because we were behind at the point, and I thought we've just got to get back on level pegging. So I just took a punt and eventually wrong, but luckily Dom was also wrong with his buzz, so didn't put us any more behind. But so yeah, I didn't really try to dwell on it too much. Yeah.
I wonder if there's a little bit with something like that. By buzzing in early, you're taking a risk, but you're also, although you're not necessarily, you are. It does feel like you're putting a bit of pressure on them to also buzz in quickly.
Exactly.
Even though they're obviously told, "Oh, you can take your time, hear the rest of the question, or whatever else like that." There's still kind of a urgency to the whole thing, and
it always happens more than I'd expect that one team interrupts incorrectly and then the other team immediately buzzes and answers incorrectly, which we've anyone who's done a decent amount of quizzing has done something similar at some point, because you just think the answer, why not buzz? But it's sort of one of these, everything is so intense in the moment that so much psychological stuff is so important.
Definitely had that in other quiz bowly kind of things, where sometimes the other team does it and get it wrong, and your captain actually has to go, no, do not buzz in. You don't need to buzz in. Stop. Because there's obviously such a inclination to do so.
Yeah. Gerard, obviously it's easy said and done. There's plenty of times beating yourself up over a question when the quiz is done, which is true, but actually in the moment, we see it in Mastermind, we see it in in University Challenge at times, and most quizzes, that if you let your mind dwell on what's gone rather than doing what Harry said, focusing on the next question, it can cost you. And in a match this tight, it can cost you a lot. The other thing that occurred to me, if I'd have been playing and I'd been in your situation, with it tied at 115 all, to see the Oppo buzz in and get what basically was what is the capital of set of bonuses. I would have been sat there absolutely cursing that was what they were faced with. How was it for you?
Yeah, I was thinking, what's that doing in the quarterfinals? It's what it is.
Yes. Which of course they maxed out and pushed out their lead, and you can quite claw it out back on the next one. When you've had the second picture bonus that you're into kind of the final stretch. So at that point you must be, you're 5 points down after the Aeneid bonus set. You are thinking, please God, let there be enough time for one more starter.
I think that was particularly true in the Bristol game, actually. Like, I remember, like, at that point, Chloe went to me, because I think we were even more behind at that point in that, and it was, there is so much pressure. I think you can see watching it. I mean, even Roger Tilling shouting Harry's name at the last moment, you could hear his excitement there.
Yeah. Do you actually hear that in the studio?
Oh yeah, he's sitting there. He shouts it, pronounces all of the foreign names perfectly every time. He is clearly very practiced at his job.
But that must add a little bit of the pressure as well, because if you hadn't realised before that time was very close to being out, when he's screaming, Durham Scully, you must think, oh geez.
I think it just kind of, for me anyway, I don't know about the other guys, but I think as a team, really, because the only markers of time you have are the first picture round, the music round, and the second picture round. So you don't have a timer or anything going on. So it really makes you either really lean into yourself kind of as a team and as a group, or it can have, I guess, for the opposite effect. And I think it was really just a testament to kind of ourselves as a team, as well as individuals, that we were able to go, okay, just kind of bring it down and kind of really focus. It was almost kind of like weirdly kind of a moment of kind of complete concentration and quiet in what really was, when you're watching it back, is what is an incredibly tense moment. Like, we were watching it back this evening. I was going, oh Lord, how on earth did that happen? But in the moment, you just lose kind of sense of inhibition, I think. I certainly did. And I think kind of we as a group did, and kind of just to work together towards it. Because, you have the same common goal, and, you've only got a certain amount of time. So you just kind of work your absolute kind of hardest and most focused to get to it. But it paid off, which was wonderful.
And I think also it's good that, like, I wasn't feeling I need to do this. It was more, we're going to focus, and we will we will try and pull it back here. And you could, I certainly felt like I could feel that the three people around me were just as, invested in it. And it was, yeah. But yes, I mean, even watching it back today, I was like incredibly nervous, and I was like, I know the result. Why does this feel so scary? But
it must be some sort of kind of throwback memory that it just kind of brings it all back to the surface again. It's but it is interesting how you can get lost in that game and in the moment and almost forget the fact there are cameras on you when the chips are down and it's getting to that last moment. You just focused on the man across the room with the question cards and that buzzer in front of you. Dennis, do you have that with Only Connect, that kind of ability to lose yourself? I mean, you've been on both shows, but that ability to lose yourself in the show?
To an extent, but I think the fact that it's broken down into rounds makes quite a difference. And a final round aside, you're not playing on the buzzer in the same way. So I think that's quite a difference between the two of them. I mean, obviously it's a while ago, but I seem to remember that with UC is just the fact that it's just filmed in one block does absorb you in a much more deeply.
Yeah.
So a very nice tight victory from your perspective. Actually, the scoreline feels slightly less tight than actually the match felt. Yeah. So a 30-point win, when it was with two starters to go. Well, in fact, one starter to go, wasn't it? Yeah, two starters to go. Pretty much neck and neck, 5 points in it. Makes it feel slightly more comfortable than it would have done. But how did that set you up mentally for, you've got two more shots at getting into the semi-final? Did that kind of, again, if the pressure was off in this first game, did you feel it was kind of off in the next one that you were going to have? No, Bee's shaking her head.
I think once the cameras are rolling, and there's a sense, I mean, sure, sort of technically the next match feels like sort of on paper it's less tense, but at the same time, if you're there, if you get a question right, if you don't, it feels terrible. If you're behind, it feels incredibly stressful. If you're ahead, you're still probably very stressed. I mean, sure, I think it was a good feeling walking out of that match knowing we had that under our belt, but I think that kind of feels like it's out the window by the time you're at a separate filming, and you've just got to play that team and
as Alex said,
what comes of it.
Something that I remember was treat every match like it's our first match.
I don't remember saying that, but sure. I remember very little from this, to be honest.
But I think that was just quite a really good mantra to go by, in the sense of, bring the same focus, bring the same kind of intensity as you're going to bring as if it's, the only match you're ever going to play, something like that. I think it just helped focus us all together as well. And I don't think we're the sort of team to go, we won that one, it'll be fine. By any means,
I don't think there was any match we went into where we. I think every match we thought there was at least a 50% chance we were going to lose. And
because the other teams are amazing. But I just remember that really helping me anyway, even if Alex can't remember.
Alex, you got a job as a life coach coming up.
Yeah, apparently. I'm glad my stuff's inspiring people. But
before we know it, there will be things on Twitter where, some pastoral image and a quote from you as a motivational thing.
Yes, but always cited as a Mark Twain quote or something. Or
Voltaire always said, yes.
Yeah.
We've got a comment here. Scully Dad, is this genuinely... Always making Quiz Mondays an enjoyable evening. Great teamwork and dress sense. So,
the TikTok star.
I wonder who that is.
There was somebody else earlier who was in the Durham fan club. Let's see if I can find them right near the start of the show. Maybe I can't under pressure. No, this doesn't make great YouTube independent.
But I like to see that Harry got kind of all the props on Twitter for his dress sense this week. So I like to feel that I passed on my knitwear styles and things that was.
Yeah, so we've been going throughout the team. We generously took turns to be best dressed. We should let Harry, you know. But I do like the fact that everyone appreciates the knitwear on Uni Challenge. You know, it's nice to see this sort of following on Twitter.
I guess it's nice when you are the subject of affectionate comments on Twitter and whatever.
For once.
We've heard in recent weeks about a lot of the downside, and we actually did a video for the channel, which is there but kind of hidden, about an article. One of these clickbait websites, Birmingham Live, that does news, which basically looks at a whole bunch of things that people say on Twitter, and then pretends there's a story there. And there was a story about Lion from Southampton and how people were up in arms about him twiddling his hair. And it's like, this is not news. What the hell is going on? I don't understand it. Anyway,
I mean, it's ridiculous. It's horrible that the people are saying this stuff on Twitter. It's even more horrible that news outlets think it's appropriate stuff to write a story about. But, you know, we met him there. He was lovely. We talked to him. And, you know, I think people often, when they're tweeting this kind of thing, kind of forget that there's a person there who is incredibly stressed and, you know, is trying to do a quiz. And
exactly, yeah. Like he sent me a message after our first match, and like really a kinder, lovelier person you could not meet.
Yeah.
So I think the stories and messages, as horrible as they are, it really reflects far more badly on them. You know, it really thinks, you know, shame on them for doing it. Ethan's a lovely guy, and yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It reflects badly on the people who tweet this stuff, and even worse on the journalistic standards of these places, these websites which masquerade themselves as news outlets, where it's all about the clicks, and they're happy to use quizzes as collateral damage in their war for, you know, clicks and monetized stories and whatever. It's just nonsense. So the reason why we didn't go big with that video in the end was we didn't want people to actually go to Birmingham Live to then start looking for all these articles.
We suspect that some of these things, this is really where the AI news thing can come in, because there's no journalistic skill in just scraping stuff off Twitter and going, you know, this Twitter user said this Twitter user said that. But there's so much of it.
Yeah, it's depressing, but it doesn't take shine off a fantastic performance by Durham tonight, which it was very enjoyable. We always ask people for their champagne moment. Not quite doing that yet. Which is your favourite moment of the evening's quizzing all round? But what I will ask is, were there any questions tonight that you particularly enjoyed? Either ones that you got or you wish you'd got to that the other team got?
I think watching Ethan on the music bonuses was well, scary when you're in opposition, but you know, incredible to watch.
The Wendy Carlos buzz was something else. Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Really good.
What about
anything for you? Your favourite question?
I quite liked Cosmic Microwave Background Radiation because I was surprised I didn't twist my tongue and fail to say that. But to be honest, it was weird. I remembered like none of the questions we got going into this episode. I was like, I literally can't remember a single question that happened. And then I watched it. And it was just kind of oh yeah, I did know that.
Yeah, past me knew stuff that current me can't quite remember. Well,
yes, that's the worst thing when.
I liked the Mistral bonus set.
That was great.
fun.
That was nice because that was similar to stuff that we'd looked at in the past.
Yeah.
And so I think as a team we all kind of went, oh, that's we know that.
Yeah.
Good. Well, we get to see you again, which is great. Although we were going to get to see you again anyway. So but
we're guaranteed 2 more now, I think.
Yes, you would be one way or another, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
If you win the next one, that means you don't have to play a third one in this round.
There's at least one, yeah.
There's someone who's made a Twitter thread today explaining exactly how the whole process works, but
I can't remember.
Basically.
I just
you just rock up and you
rock
try and
up.
answer the questions.
Excellent. Well, well done for that, and we look forward to seeing that next match. Now, before we quickly move on to look at Mastermind, and whilst we think about stuff, be thinking about your top moment of the night, which can be anything. We're just going to show a quick trailer for our latest video. Earlier this year, we spoke to Vadim Bondar about his experiences of being a quizzer in a country under invasion, and also about his competition, the Knowledge Facts Ladder. Watch this exclusive interview to find out about one of the toughest quizzes around, and also one of the toughest situations any quizzer has found themselves in. Okay, so fantastic guy, Vadim. And if you don't know what the Knowledge Facts Ladder is, it is a brutally difficult international quiz played daily on weekdays. And you can sign up for that if you like having your brain mangled by such stuff. But some of the very best quizzes in the world are playing it, which is a very high recommendation. Now, Mastermind was the first show this evening. I don't know if... Durhamites, whether you got a chance to watch it or not.
I did, yeah.
I did, yeah.
And I know Dennis caught it. What do we make of the subjects tonight? Specialist subjects. Empress Matilda, Stevie Nicks, What Katie Did books, and Frankenstein films. Pretty good spread of subjects, I thought. Any favourites in there?
I didn't know much about any of them.
Yeah, I didn't know any of them, but I thought they seemed like very interesting topics and people who knew about them. So I think that's sort of the thing I like about the specialist subjects is just sort of realizing that is a thing you can know that much about these niche things.
It's interesting because we previously had some people on from University Challenge for whom Mastermind has not been such a big thing in their life. You know, UC is big and maybe Only Connect is big, but Mastermind hasn't been. But is it one of those shows that you have watched a lot?
Yeah, I've watched quite a lot. I enjoy just watching the general knowledge bits. Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to fast forward through the specialist subjects a bit if it's something I don't have a particular interest in, but the general knowledge is good.
One of the things I noticed happened twice was an answer that was very, very close in pronunciation.
Oh yeah,
but was not allowed. And it was Catherine, her first one on the Empress Matilda. She said, I think she said Canmore, and it was Cranmore, or the other way around.
Yeah, it was the other way around.
And then there was the Rebecca with cobblestone. I don't know. How do we feel about it? Do we feel that's harsh? Do we feel that's fair? After all, the answer given is not quite right.
I've heard some people say that production teams are intentionally harsh because it's slightly, like in an argument, it's slightly easier to justify being harsh because you can say it's wrong as opposed to someone else going, I would have won if you hadn't allowed a wrong answer. So sort of just drawing a hard and fast line is sort of seen as more fair because at least you can kind of apply that more universally. But at the same time, when you're the one who suffers from this, it certainly doesn't feel fair.
Yeah.
No, that is a very good point, actually, Alex. Thank you for that, because we were, Dennis and I were talking about it before we came on air and discussing it, and I guess we were thinking, well, as long as it's applied equally. But I guess allowing incorrect answers is not always you're not always comparing apples and apples. There might be some differences. So I think that's actually a really good point. And actually, who wants to be the producer of a TV show that gets loads of people writing in saying, I can't believe you allowed that wrong answer? So no, I can understand it. First round, Mark absolutely monstered. I use that word deliberately. The Frankenstein films didn't quite get the perfect round, but 13 points he set himself up for the specialist, for the general knowledge, with Catherine second on 11. I was really pleased that Rebecca, who was in last place, came back and had a double figure general knowledge round, because I think sometimes you can kind of maybe slightly ill prepare your special subject, or not quite see things from the same perspective as a setter, but with your general knowledge, you could have anything thrown at you, and if you do well, then that kind of shows you're a decent quizzer. So I was pleased she did well. Dennis, any thoughts on the general knowledge or the other performances we saw?
They were all seemed pretty solid. It was just was it George who had a horrible kind of middle thing where it just felt like got one wrong that he might have got, and then just sort of that just throws you a bit. So it's nice to pull back a little bit there. But I mean, having seen the specialist scores, I think I felt fairly confident in Mark doing it, and the others, it's just about putting in a solid performance and not embarrassing yourself. When someone else is substantially ahead, it's theirs to lose.
Yeah, I mean, he wobbled a little bit at the end, but by that point, he'd already won it anyway. I think
he was confident enough that he knew he could take a little time and it wouldn't throw him and stuff. So yeah.
We've got a comment here from Michael. Probably easiest for TV shows to go with only exact answer correct, but for quiz leagues and Grand Prix, etc., I'd hope people would go with accepting answers where reasonable knowledge is shown, which is generally the principle in that sort of quiz. I think so. So, so Mark won Mastermind. It was a good, confident winning score. He looks like a decent contender for semi-finals. It remains to be seen how well he does at semis, but certainly his ability to prepare a specialist subject round and to score quite heavily in a general knowledge is pretty good. So we will see how he fares. Now, before we come back and talk about our champagne moments, we've got to run through the nominees for Quizzer and Team of the Week for this week. This week's nominees for Quizzer of the Week are Scott Blish for 14 out of 15 in Mimi as well, Dan Burgess 14 out of 15 in Pop Solos, Mark Cooper for 7 out of 8 in Quiz League of London, Jonathan Gibson for 13 out of 15 in the Pop Culture Challenge, Victoria Gross for 14 out of 15 in Mimi as well, Catherine Johnson, winner of the latest heat of Counterpoint, Jeff King 14 out of 15 in Mimi as well, Andy Kravis, a full house in OQL USA, Jimmy Lee 14 out of 15 in Mimi as well, Ewan Macaulay 7 out of 8 in Quiz League of London, tonight's Mastermind winner, Michael McPartland for 13 out of 15 in the Pop Culture Challenge, Rob Milnes 7 out of 8 in OQL Division 5B, Greg Peterson for 14 out of 15 in Mimi as well, David Stainer for 7 out of 8 in the Quiz League of London, Don Tate for 13 out of 15 in the Pop Culture Challenge, and René Vassmer, the newly crowned German quiz champion. The nominees for Team of the Week are Anne Kristen Yee, who won the All Things Quiz Members Quiz, Editor Inquisitive Fish, the top scorers in Quiz Nations Asia Pacific, Greyhound, the Ormskirk Quiz League champions, tonight's Only Connect winner, Pericardium, who beat the Quiz League London Division 1 leaders, Quiz Besiktas Fascists, who beat OQL Division 1 leaders Pericardium, Quiz Petcom, winners of the Zagreb Quiz Championships, R2S2, the German team champions, The Zoom Where It Happens, who drew with the leaders of Division 3 Thistle in OQL USA, tonight's University Challenge winners, and Dirk Vielhuber and René Vassmer, the German pairs champions. You can now vote at tinyurl.com/QW27Feb23. That's tinyurl.com/QW27Feb23. Voting is open till Friday at 6 p.m. when we'll announce the winners. And of course, in the vote, we will put in that it was Durham who won University Challenge, that it was Crustaceans who won Only Connect, and we'll put in Mark Rogers as the Mastermind champion, just so that Mastermind winner, so that everybody knows. Harry, in case you didn't know, you came second last week in Quizzer of the Week's vote, and Durham, you won it. You won Team of the Week. So, Durham, you could be on for a rare back-to-back victory in Team of the Week. But there's some stiff opposition, not least the Crustaceans.
Indeed, and that was quite a showing from them.
It really was. And it was.
We accept our crab overlords.
There should be more mascots in quiz. That's what I think. Now, hang on. Quasi Wabbit II is saying no Bombay bad boys. All I would say is that you can nominate anybody for Team and Quizzer of the Week at tinyurl.com/ATQ nominations. If it's not in there, and I don't spot it, well, then it's your fault for not telling me. So get the nominations in. So Quasi Wabbit II, next time Bombay Bad Boys do something worthy of nomination, please let us know.
I note I've just seen that my Mimi as well draw this week. I've got Victoria Gross and Jeff King.
Nice. You've got the 2021 World Quizzer of the Year, and Jeff King, who's my teammate in OQL, and he is phenomenal.
Yes, I'm looking forward to getting. I'm hoping for some really, really British content, basically.
Yeah, to be fair, that will act in your favour. There's nothing he likes less than things like Only Fools and Horses, or I can't remember what it was. Oh yeah, I got Harry Kane, and he was in awe of me getting such a hard football question.
That was hard.
Because to him it is. So anyway, our highlights of the night, and it can be anything. It doesn't have to be from your show. It can be something you did. It could be something somebody else did. Be any aspect of anything we saw tonight. Feel free to pick whatever you want. Be as self-indulgent as you would like to be. Dennis, we'll start with you. What was your champagne moment of the night?
Well, I think I will go for the Wendy Carlos on the music round, because that was impressively quite fast. I mean, I know it's the other team. Sorry, Darren, but
It's okay. I was going to say that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Wendy Carlos. Alex, how about you?
I mean, I was going to say the Wendy Carlos thing as well. I did also really enjoy in Underconnect the PSH bit.
Yes.
That was one that I was very confused by, and it was nice to see the answer to, and props for getting it.
That was a very good one. B, how about you?
Again, it's the Wendy Carlos for me. But if I had to be self-indulgent, it was kind of just on the questions where I think we all worked together really well. Even if at the very moment I can't quite remember the exact answers that we gave. I think it was, the team spirit of it was wonderful. But again, the Wendy Carlos and the entire music round of that episode was just really outstanding quizzing, to be honest.
Yeah. Harry.
Well, yeah, I was going to say Wendy Carlos. Coffee, everyone. But no, I thought all of the steals that Crustaceans got tonight were very impressive. The Latin word for clouds was particularly good. I liked that any of the 6-letter word you went for stoner, which was a sort of fun one. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I mean some quality guessing of connections there. For me, I really like the overlapping letters question in the names. I just thought that was lovely. I was never going to get that in a month of Sundays, but I really enjoyed that. And I think I enjoyed the Crustaceans performance overall. I think sometimes you just have to kind of sit back and admire a performance without making you cringe, Dennis, by being overly complimentary. But I think you don't see performances like that very often. You certainly don't see them in a semi-final. So I think that was spectacular. And then the other thing, because I can never decide, to go back to B's thing, it's good teamwork. I love it when I see good teamwork, because these are team games, and you don't prosper as a team. Usually, I mean, there have been the odd example, but you don't usually prosper as a team if you're reliant on kind of one standout player, particularly when there are bonuses to be got and everybody can chip in. Likewise, in Only Connect, when different people are chipping in different things, different perspectives, it makes it so much more enjoyable for the viewer, and I think it enriches the experience of the shows. So, yeah, that would be my last one, because we saw great teamwork tonight from Durham, from the Crustaceans, and also from Southampton. There was some really good play there.
Great, yeah.
So, hang on. Catherine has put. Oh no. So Catherine has no particular champagne moment. Average evening quizzing. Talk about her own quizzing rather than your quizzing being average. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Dennis. Best of luck. Best of retrospective luck in the final, because we know it's already happened. And thank you so much to Durham. Best of retrospective luck to you in your next round. Thanks for coming on. It's been absolutely lovely to have you and to chat to you. To everybody who's been chatting away, even Catherine, who clearly had an average evening. Thank you for coming along, putting comments in. Don't forget to vote in What Is the Question, tinyurl.com/WITQMOS. Voting is open till Wednesday evening, when we release the final shortlist to find the winner of that question. And don't forget to vote for Quiz and Team of the Week at tinyurl.com/QW27 Feb 23. That voting is open till Friday at 6. Then we'll release the name of the winners. We will be back next week. I don't know who the guests will be next week because thanks to the way the BBC publicises their shows, I generally don't know who is on until a day or so beforehand. But I will endeavour to get an equally fantastic group of guests on next time. So once again, thanks to our guests, Dennis, Harry, Bea and Alex. We will see you again next week, and goodbye, everybody.
Thank you, Gareth.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you.